Hello. So I did a study on research that is titled Physiological Responses to Interval Training Sessions at Velocities Associated with VO2 Max. And some keywords just to keep in mind that are very important is interval training sessions and VO2 max. But before we get into that, let's look at some previous studies or current research. So, current research that revolved around some of the things that we will be talking about concluded that short duration to high intensity with max VO2 or maximal oxygen uptake with active intervals, it focuses on recovery and it can improve your endurance purpose. Not only this, intense trainings at about 90 to 100 VO2 max can improve your aerobic capacity. And some holes in the study, or some things that have not really been studied, is work ratios over 2 to 1. So that's something that we will be testing and experimenting. So, what is the purpose statement? So, we have two main things that we will be looking at. First one is comparison. So, the different physiological responses on the work to recovery ratios, and it will be in the short variation of 60-second intervals. So, it would be 1 to 1, 2 to 1, and then 4 to 1. And then limit tolerated. So, we will be determining the upper limit tolerated during the training. And they also put in this last trial, which did not have a fixed distance. It was just continuous work until exhaustion. So, going into methodology, we could see our subjects are 12 healthy men in wrestling clubs, which is an important variable because, stated in the research, it's shown to produce higher BLA or blood lactate concentration in wrestlers. The work is going to be treadmills, so subjects will be using treadmills for the work. The ratios you see down below are just the different times. So 15, 30 to 60 seconds of work, those will all be done in 100% intensity. And then all the 15-second recoveries will be in 50% intensity. And the table on the left is just the average of the value and the ranges for each of the men. And then some of the things that they used were the calibrated medical scale and the stadiometer for the body height and mass. And then this is some of the data and the results. So this table has a lot of information on all of the trials, mainly on the peak and the mean. And we could see that the value for the first trial, or 15 to 15, 1 to 1, it's a lot lower. It has a bigger difference compared to the other trials, which are relatively a little different, but they're still relatively similar. So some things that were also concluded was that the fourth trial continuous run for VO2 max was 5 minutes and 56 seconds. And trial 1 and 2, or 1 to 1 and 2 to 1, were completed, but 3 or 4 to 1 was majority of them could not complete it because it was too intense. And that would limit the time. VO2 max, it's and HR max and RPE. So these were all in the table. It was all in the table, and these are just broken down, and you could just see how trial 1 is considerably different than the rest of the other trials. I do apologize, my cat is going crazy. Okay, and then analysis. So the 1 to 1 trial and the 2 to 1 trial was fairly easy for all of the subjects to do. So the trial number 2, they maintained a pretty good VO2 max at 90%. The last one, it was too intense. Only 5 were able to really complete it. So it limited exercise time in the IT session or interval training session. And main takeaways is that performed intervals, it's really dependent on how your work recovery ratio and definitely the intensity of the recovery, because for work, of course, it's going to be 100. And then balancing the intervals with the time and your ratio, it will be dependent on if you optimize your benefits for aerobic and anaerobic energy system development. Thank you.